this is pretty disgusting. So there is a plan to name a Washington, D.C. street after Jamal Khashoggi. He's the journalist, writer who was killed by the Saudis. He was a U.S. resident. Apparently he had a lot of friends at the Washington Post. That's where he worked. I think there's a lot of people I would like to see a street named after. I'm not sure that Khashoggi would be the first one that I would do, but whatever. If there's a constituency to do that in D.C., then fine. But here is Seb Gorka, who apparently has a real issue with this. The idea I have to drive my Mustang down that road. But here he is. Here's how disgusting, how desperate the Trumpies are to avoid this crap show around Mohammed bin Salman. And one has to wonder just how many of them are getting paid to maintain this relationship.
Quick little blurb that we noticed in the local papers yesterday. It's about a neighborhood here in the District of Columbia. A group just voted to rename the street in front of the Saudi embassy for Jamal Khashoggi. What do you make of that?
Why would you name a street after a man who was best friends with Osama bin Laden and a member of the Muslim Brotherhood? Yes, he was murdered, and that was unjust, that was wrong. But this is not some saint and champion of democracy. His last article for Post was about the need for theocracy and supporting the Muslim Brotherhood. Would we rename streets in D.C. after Ayman al-Zawahiri, the head of Al-Qaeda? Would we rename streets after KSM, the mastermind of the 9/11 hijacking? It's a little peculiar, to say the least.
It's a little peculiar. Like, as if, what is the nefarious thing going on? Here is a perfect example of how poorly we do our jobs. Because if this happened, and it's impossible that the same circumstance would have happened under Obama. Let's say, it's just impossible, right? There's no way the relationship would have been with the Saudis that they felt they could get away with this. Okay, there would have been some constraints, but just by chance, if something like this happened, and under Obama's presidency, a street was named after Khashoggi, that same hit by Seb Gorka would be classic. This proves Obama's Muslim Brotherhood.
Oh, I thought you were going to go the direction that David Axelrod would be on Washington Journal being like, gee, I don't know. I mean, he was best friends with bin Laden.
Well, no.
All of the nice Obama people just being like, I don't know. He was into theocracy.
No,
not saying he should have been cut up, but
this would be.
Oh yeah, this Obama is Obama's so weak
fault.
that they could just act with impunity.
Yeah,
I mean, I have to tell you, I agree. I don't know if Khashoggi would be my first choice either, but I do like the idea that it's in front of the Saudi embassy.
Right,
that makes me support it. And the other thing too is he's clever enough to just basically be like, the dead can't sue for slander.
Right.
Like, that's an extraordinary claim.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing to say, just a little housekeeping on it. Like, this guy was a Saudi royal advisor and supported the Mujahideen in the 80s, along with, us.
Right.
The entirety of the U.S. military and intelligence apparatus. And was moving.
We enabled it.
We outsourced.
Funded it.
We funded it and let the Pakistan. We helped coordinate it. The Saudis funded it, and then we outsourced the practicalities to the Pakistanis. So when he was there, that was as American as apple pie. As in Ronald Reagan compared these people. He said they were the moral equivalent of our founding fathers. And yes, he was working with religious groups and criticizing the Saudi monarchy because that's the only political game in town there, unfortunately. And he's conservative. I don't know. I don't want Mike Pence's policy advisor to get cut up in an embassy, right? Like, how just the utter inhumanity you have to go there is
Also,
sort of jaw-dropping, along with like what even by their standards is just like he could have said he's Muslim Brotherhood, which is not true, but whatever. But he's like Osama bin Laden, like I was Osama bin Laden's bestie, and then I lived in Saudi, and now I'm at the Washington Post, and yeah.
well, and speaking of troubling connections, which is worse, Vitesse Rand or the Muslim Brotherhood?
Vitesse Rand was, well, frankly, not as on the scene right now. I wear it with my Mandarin collar. Jamal Khashoggi's grieving wife can't sue me because her husband's dead. Him and Osama bin Laden used to go to the bathhouses together, massage each other. So I'm not sure they should have a street named after him. Why can't I get back on Fox? C-SPAN is so lame.